Hello everyone and welcome to another video. For those of you who watched my last video, you'll already know that actually I had a disaster recording and unfortunately the audio didn't seem to work. The same thing happened with this video. I'm going to try something different this time and do a voiceover or give a kind of director's cut. So let's see how this goes, and at least this way you'll be able to hear my thoughts and thinking still as we go around. Obviously, I already know what's going to happen, but I'll try and narrate over it and at least give you some idea of what's going on and what I guess I'm thinking about as we look through these levels. So I put a time limit, and we've gone for just random maps around the world this time. So we've landed here on a long open road, kind of stretches into the distance in both directions. If I'm honest, these are kind of my nemesis scenarios. I find them particularly difficult, in part because there's often very few clues around, and really, you it feels a bit hopeless, as you could kind of venture in either direction for seemingly infinite amounts of time before you come across anything. I also find that I spend perhaps too long focusing on pretty minor clues. So, for example, there I'm turning around to see those signs that are on the side of the road, and they don't even have anything on them. And you could have probably have known that before really looking. But nonetheless, that's my style, I guess, and I'll continue to work on it and try and hone my skills. What I'm doing now is probably a bit better in the sense that I'm just trying to progress down the road as fast as possible until we get to something useful. And you'll see that in a few seconds we will, so that'll be good. Initial landscape here looks kind of open, maybe Canadian, I was thinking at the time. But as we come across these red houses, it actually reminds me of Scandinavia. And you'll see this sign right here sort of confirms that. So already at this stage, I'm thinking of that region of the world. You can see I open the map and scroll straight to it. What I'm not sure about now is sort of Finland versus Sweden. I don't think it's Norway. Norway's a bit sort of more mountainous, and a bit more dramatic in terms of landscape. Whereas this is still quite flat and open. It kind of reminds me of Finland, although I've only been there once, and I've never been to Sweden. But look, I'm starting to compare the names I can see here, with places on the map. Actually, the eager-eyed amongst you would have already seen one of them. But as you'll see, it takes me a while now to actually get there. I'm mostly thinking that this is Finland at the moment, and the reason is just because of the double dots over the O in Ecorshow. Please forgive my pronunciation. For some reason, I associate that sort of more with the Finnish language than I do the Swedish, but really there's no reason for that. It's pure guesswork. So I'm just trying to see what's around. Important always to keep an eye on the clock in these sorts of scenarios. So with 1:46 to go, I'm still very unsure at this stage, and I'm essentially hoping to strike gold, just simply by sort of scanning around a bit. I'm staying here and not progressing any further because, frankly, I feel like there's enough information in front of me. I should be able to work this out. We've got 5 place names there, sort of spread over, relatively decent kind of distance. And if you spot one, the idea is we should get all the rest of them. And then, be able to interpolate maybe to Amselebasen versus Maltrask and work it out there. I'm still hanging around Finland at this stage. I'm getting better and to convincing myself that we're in Finland, even though I'm not finding the result. There's really no logic here at all. It's just hell for leather at the moment, trying to find something, trying to see if we can see one of these place names. So I'm scrolling around, and I'm beginning to appreciate doing the voiceover that this might not be so interesting. So I'll try and get a bit faster at this in the future. I'm about to panic and bail out in a second and go and look at Sweden, and actually we'll soon find out that I should have done this a while ago. So I'll wait for that to happen. there's the bailout. I got nervous. Obviously, wasn't having much luck in Finland, and as you'll see, bang, we found Lixele immediately. Unfortunately, it's too little, too late, and with 6 seconds to go, I've got no further guesses, no further time to explore. So I just bang a pin down and go for the guess. Remarkably lucky. I mean, I was astonished, frankly, here to have come across Lixele so quickly. And it was actually on the kind of initial map when we scrolled up to it. I can now see rewatching the video. So, you know, so be it. Should have been a bit more careful from the get-go, and we'd have come across Lixele earlier. 4,763 points, very close, really just banging the pin down at the end. Actually ended up on the wrong side of Lixele, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I'm afraid, because, you know, really it was absolute last-minute.com find. But needless to say, delighted. So on to round 2. The cornfields had me scared. Immediately, I thought I'd be on another long road. But as we pan around, it's you know, it turns out there's sort of a bit more to it here than I previously would have expected. Lovely countryside. I really enjoy this game, in part because, you know, you get to see sort of just the most fantastic scenery and really sort of learn about, really get a sense, I guess, of what landscapes are like in other countries and places around the world. So at the moment it's feeling very sort of Tuscan, maybe Spanish. You know, I'm really not sure at this stage, but just doing, just trying to progress around. Strike, you know, gold here quite early on, in the sense that we come across this sort of pretty major looking roundabout, which, given that I thought I was in a rural location, well, we are in a rural location, but we seem to have found sort of a decent roundabout quite early. I'm thinking Croatia at the moment now, just because I don't really recognize the names on there. Kosmiko and Gorce. They sound like they could be Slovenian or Croatian. Really not sure. We come to the roundabout though, and it's really quite lucky as there's many signs here. So we should be able to figure something out. Vittoria, Comiso, Ragusa, look, and Aeroporto. These names are starting to feel maybe not Croatian or Slovenian to me anymore, but possibly Italian. So I think at this stage in the video, I'm just talking that over, and you know, these thoughts are running through my mind. Also noting that we've got an airport nearby, we've got a railway, Donna Fugata, and also some kind of castle. It feels southern Italian to me, perhaps Sicilian. So I go down there, open the map and go down there immediately. And actually we get extremely lucky and land on Vittoria from the get-go. It's at the bottom, and really, once again, almost like Sweden in the last round, I'm absolutely thrilled to have spotted that. So, you know, to have landed on Ragusa and Vittoria, you know, so early is pretty good. I say early, you know, we're just shy of halfway through the round, so we have to keep moving. And I'm starting to look now for the other places, the other named places on these signs on the map. So as you can see, we've got Comiso, we've got Ragusa, and we've got Vittoria. They're all in the same direction. Vittoria is closer. So I'm trying to interpolate now and see where we are. My philosophy is that we're to the west of these three places. And I land here in this town called Gela, which has got a railway station. So I get a bit excited about that, as I know that there's a railway near to where we are. I couldn't find anything else, any of the other name places from the signs on the map. So I actually just had a scoot round to see if there were things pointing in the other direction. Couple of different pieces of information here. Saline, Piombo, Pimobo, sorry. But yeah, wasn't sure about them either. Stopped for a quick look at the JCB before carrying on to the next exit. Piombo, I was right actually. Piombo is how it's spelt. So, you know, start to have a look for those as well. I'm finding it quite difficult at this stage to sort of interpolate. So we've got, you know, the 11, the 12, and the 17 to Ragusa. So I'm trying to figure out the sort of 6-point difference between Vittoria and Ragusa, and sort of interpolate west. It turns out that this is actually, you know, not a totally effective strategy, as you could be in any kind of arc around Vittoria and Comiso, as opposed to just along a straight line. And we'll see in a few short seconds actually that's the case. But anyway, I'm following this road, the E46. One thing I did not have here, which perhaps I could have found if I'd have scooted on a bit further, is a name for the actual road. So I was really, guessing here on this SS115, I think was the road name. What is that? The SP83. I was trying to follow the railway out of Jella at this point. With 30 seconds on the clock, you can tell I'm getting a bit desperate. And so, yeah, really, really not sure. And actually talking myself out of it at this point, thinking that I might, be barking up the wrong tree. I'm convinced we're in Sicily and in the right place because we've got 3 place names that line up. I'm not worried about that. But just the whole idea of tracing down this road, I'm not sure about. So look, with 4 seconds to go, I put a pin just north of Jella. I'm really unsure. And it transpires actually that we were a bit further south. So as you can see there, you can see the distance difference between Vittoria and Camisa actually came from the fact that we weren't on the main road, but actually there's sort of a difference in the arc, I guess, around where we are. So anyway, still relatively happy to have come across southern Sicily so easily early on in the round. So can't complain too much. On to the next round. We're in a jungle environment now, totally different. Looks very lush green. I enjoy this, I think, a bit more actually than the open roads in sort of Canada or Russia. Although equally, they're pretty daunting because, well, frankly, you could be in the middle of nowhere. Started in one direction and just changed my mind there, you might have seen. I don't really know why I do that. It's just sort of a hunch, I guess, when you start. So I've gone down this road now a short while, found a sign, which I'm getting a bit too distracted by because there's not really any legible information on there. And, it's impossible to go down that road anyway, and I can't really figure out what's there. So, look, try and keep pressing on and see what we can come across. I stopped to look at trucks. You'll have noticed if you've watched my previous videos. Lots of information you can find sometimes on the side of vehicles. Could be a company's name, could be a flag, it could be the end of a website, or even the sort of phone number might give it away. Sometimes truck drivers will hang things in the back of their cab, football team flags that they support, so on and so forth. So you really don't know. And also I think it's quite interesting. In general, I like sort of cars and vehicles, and so it's interesting to stop and look at what people are using in the part of the world that you seem to have landed in. So another big sign here. These should be quite promising, but the clues really aren't giving it away. Aduan Kyrgyzstan Jalan, I'm not sure about, but I did notice that the end of the website address there is .my, which obviously sort of gets me on to Malaysia. Just reposition myself a bit to try and see the sign a bit clearer. And I think it's at this stage that I realise the .my. The @JKR is kind of Jakarta, I'm thinking. This is clearly some sort of government thing, @jkr.gov.my. So I open the map and zoom in there. The only thing I do really is just put down a sort of, I call it a safety pin to begin with. That's simply in case I get distracted, lose track of time, don't get around to making a guess or whatever. Better to have something down there rather than nothing. And it's always a chance that I could miss, that I could mess up there on the time. So good to have something down. So yeah, in Malaysia, not really too sure what to do here exactly. I'm just sort of scrolling around. I'm actually looking for the name Aduan, sort of thinking that could be part of the region or so on, but no luck initially, and still have 2 minutes on the clock, so worth exploring a bit further and seeing what we can find. We round the corner here and actually come across quite a built up area. So from previously thinking we were in the middle of the jungle, actually seems to have stumbled across some kind of civilization. and quite a large one at that. So that's promising. I'm messing around here a bit, to be honest, because I thought there might be something on these signs, but really they're just pretty rudimentary road signs with no writing on them or anything. So go back round the corner and see what I can see there. Obviously, sort of a huge new housing settlement. These could be homes for people living near a city, or perhaps even homes for workers out in for logging companies or so on out in the jungle. Not sure. But immediately now, this environment is looking more built up to me. It's looking suburban, to be honest, which is promising. Nice roads, nicer houses. Looking at the signs here on the side of the road to try and glean some more information. Looking at the businesses, the names, the numbers. On the right, I've spotted a flag, a Malaysian flag. And so we're going to come back to that and have a look at that in a second as well. But trying to get the names, just anything really at the moment, with 20 seconds to go, that might pin us to a town or city that I recognize. Just having a look at the flag to confirm things, really. And now with 13 seconds on the clock, just trying to come up with something to do. I mentioned Jakarta earlier, and actually that I was wrong to do that, obviously. So, instead now confirmed it's Malaysia, going for something near Kuala Lumpur, because, as I mentioned, it felt more residential and that we could be on the outskirts of a big city. We were a bit further away than I thought, but anyway, the logic was there. And generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with that. Malaysia, you could be in Borneo there instead. But for some reason, it just felt sort of right to go with the mainland. So that's what I did, and played out okay. On to round 4. Lovely landscape here. Really, really enjoy looking at this. Great to be on a motorway and to sort of immediately come across a road sign is a real relief, frankly, early on in the round. So that's good. We're also at an intersection, and one thing I'm trying to do here is get better at noting down the sort of geography of where I am immediately to start. You can really nail the 5,000 pointers if you do that. And so, but on occasion previously, I've messed up basically and not quite got the side of the intersection correct or anything. So I'm trying to do a bit of a better job at that. I'm looking at the sign here, and I recognize SS. SS33 is the road number. And actually what I'm doing is scrolling back to Italy and looking at the road numbers for Sicily, which is where we spent some time earlier in the game, and confirmed that those around there begin with SS as well. So I'm thinking Italy. Also because of the language and so on, but my language isn't the best, so I'm never 100% confident there. But SS33 is pretty promising. So I'm now back up in North Italy, and the reason is because I'm assuming that there is some kind of logic to the road numbers, and that they start lower, further north or further west or further east. I'm not yet sure, but I'm just trying to sort of figure that out. So I'm counting around the numbers and moving across the map sort of appropriately based on what I see. I get a bit confused because there's some that start with SS and some that start with sort of S something else. And so they don't always line up. And there also are some others in the blue squares which just don't have the SS lettering before the numbers anyway. So they're all a bit of a mix at the moment, and I'm just trying to work around it. I cotton on to Milan, again because of the low road numbering here, and I found 32, and I found 33 at this stage, which is great. So we're up the side of this lake, and the next step really is to just zoom along the road to try and see where it sort of starts and where it ends, so that we've got the outer bounds of where we might be. So just trying to follow it. It's not immediately obvious because it kind of breaks up and starts on the other side of cities, but basically it heads into Milan, which is where we are now. And out the other side, I think, for a short while, and then I lose it. So I think basically it goes from Milan at the southern end up to the northwest-ish in direction. Important to note, the road that we're on the left side, you can see using the compass that we're sort of heading sort of northwest versus southeast. So that's sort of lining up with the road that I'm on at the moment. and I'm still sort of zooming out towards Switzerland. Actually crossed the border, I think, accidentally. And you can see where the road, the SS33 ends and the Swiss equivalent begins. So I'm pinning it down there between Milan and the border. Turned around now to look at the signs for the actual towns where we are. So that should give us an idea, of exactly where we are along this road. I can't remember now in hindsight exactly what those names were, but we do find them in a second. I decided to go right to the border and just work in from there, because I didn't find them sort of on an initial first glance. And we've only got 1:12 on the clock here, so time is ticking. And we found them. It's Ornavasso, that's right. So Ornavasso is the name of the town on the signs. On the SS33, you can see around it. And I'm skipping over the road here to see, the exit number or just anything else that can give us an idea to where we are. I see Ornavasso 2.5k. So we're 2.5k away. And my initial thinking is that we're on the north end of the town here. There's just that bit of road that looks like it sort of could be 2.5k-ish to Ornavasso. So I'm looking at this junction. I also think at this stage, we're perhaps north of the town and looking south. So it makes sense that the turnoff to Ornavasso would be there. But I changed my mind in just a second. I discover on the right there's the junction down there where the pin has just gone to. And that's actually far more appropriate. It just matches the geography of the road layout with where we started much better. So I'm putting a pin down now. This is an example where if you see I could have been slightly closer, 1 point off, which is just amazingly frustrating actually, to be so close to the 5,000 but not quite there. If I'd have paid just a fraction more attention to where I started, I'd have got that last point. So anyway, a few things there to note and improve on, especially as we did find the town and the road and the exit, correctly. It's annoying to have not got that spot on. Still 100 meters away, it's not the end of the world. On to round 5, and it looks again vast, open kind of wheat fields. That's a little worrying at this stage. Efficient line, confirms to me we're in some kind of English-speaking part of the world. Wide open skies, rolling landscape. When I'm faced with these sorts of scenarios, I'm thinking sort of United States or Canada, pretty much always. It's not dead flat. This isn't sort of pancake flat Kansas. You can see we're in rolling hill country, and there are some sort of more mountainous features in the distance. So, not exactly sure at the moment. Could be Canada still, Alberta. Could be sort of down near Colorado. Just not sure. So worth exploring. And as I mentioned earlier on in the game, I'm going to try and get better at just sort of getting on with the moving, I think, until we see, a real clue, as opposed to dilly-dallying about looking at trucks and cars and so on. But you can see here I get distracted by the truck and I want to look at the truck. And I'm perplexed immediately by that name, Gunaiden. Gunaiden, it isn't Canadian. And all of a sudden I'm no longer sure where we are, starting to question myself. At the front of the truck there it said Masalan, which to me sounds Indian. So now I'm really unsure. Masalan there, you see. And Iveco is just the make of the truck. We know that. So that's irrelevant. But yeah, now I'm really unsure, getting less certain by the second, because Masalan sounds Indian. The other word sounds sort of Turkish. And then previously we saw some English there, and I thought I was in North America. So really, really lost at this moment, and need to keep making some progress. We burned through 2 minutes already, so it's amazing how the time flies. Anyway, just progressing, trying to make as much progress as possible now down the road, see what's there, don't get distracted, try and come across a sign, try and come across a road name, anything that points to even frankly the country at this moment isn't clear. So really, really need help. Do see a sign here, so pausing to stop and zoom in. Again, you know, this kind of writing and language, it could be Greek, could be Turkish. You know, I really don't know. Yeah, just trying to decipher what's on there. Again, the area codes, any kind of website address. These things sort of look like they're pointing to areas of commercial land off the main strip here. So not too helpful, frankly, at this stage. Decide to move on. And yeah, just hope, you know, with the power lines on the right-hand side, we're going to get to some kind of civilization. There is something in the distance, so I'm trying to work my way there. But as you know, you can only make so many steps at a time on Google Street View. And so I'm just tapping relentlessly, really, on the horizon to try and get somewhere at the moment. You know, see a sign here, try and zoom in. Some of them get blurred out by the sort of auto blur that they put on the car number plates. This to me, you know, still looking now Turkish, just because of the lettering and the sort of accents on some of the letters. So, you know, we can zoom in there and bang a safety pin down early on. Close the map and keep going because, frankly, we've got nothing else to go with at the moment. Finally, some place names. They look pretty small, as in the town names look small. Kayırıder, Hachifakli, Kuruderi, you know, not sure. Could be Greek as well. I really, you know, don't know. A minute on the clock, so I'm just looking on the map now to see if there's any sort of luck really with landing on a place. Extra hard as in these parts of the world that, you know, Google's got both the sort of local alphabet and the English one as well. So you know, extra amounts of information to absorb. But yeah, in Turkey, I mean, you know, Turkey, Greece, these are huge countries, and really it's not a time efficient strategy to try and land on something here. So I'm going at this stage, you know, with 20 seconds on the clock. With the west of the country, I feel like it's quite built up. You can see in the distance there, houses and so on. So I'm going with the fact that we're sort of more west than east. It doesn't feel too hilly, so we're avoiding the mountains, sticking to a main road. The whole thing's tarmacked, and going with the west of the country to hedge our bets. Actually, we're on the European side of Turkey, just the small part that exists west of Istanbul. Up in the north, you know, I've never heard of these towns, and this is not an area of the world I know very well. So, you know, very happy I stuck with West Turkey at this stage more than anything else. And, you know, pretty happy with the under 500k guess from the location. But yeah, really didn't know the names of the towns or anything. Was right with Turkey, and so glad we stuck with that. But yeah, that's about it. So, you know, almost 4,000 points there. You know, closes out not a bad game. So we'll see the game stats here. Game finished, well done. Total score was 23,131 points. Overall, actually, I'm thrilled with that. That's pretty good performance for me on a world map, on a random world map. So got lucky with southern Italy there. Also got lucky, frankly, just scrolling across to Sweden from Finland at the very last second. That was totally good timing. And yeah, even Turkey panned out okay. So pretty happy overall. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.